All right, this one is from the infamous Itali Tar, who's a friend of mine from Lebanon. Man, we go way back, actually. We've never met each other in person, but we know we've corresponded for 10 years now. From the ex-Muslim Itali Tar. I hope I didn't just mark him for death. Do you subscribe to the idea of eternal hell for those who do not believe in Jesus and God? I like it when people say Jesus and God. It sounds weird to me, having grown up in church for 50 years. But people seeing them as separate individuals is important, actually. But that's another, it may even be another question. No, I don't believe that God sent us to earth for 80 plus years, waiting for us to get our hands on a Bible, say a sinner's prayer that isn't in the Bible, only to have us sin a few times or even constantly over the course of 80 years, and then send us to hell for eternity. If we have a just God, and I believe we do, that math doesn't work. 80 years of life here, no matter what you do, versus, and the word eternity is thrown around a lot, so let's put some perspective. We'll start eternity after the first 3 trillion years you spend in hell, and then we'll start eternity. That gives you a little bit more perspective. And that math does not work for a just God. In fact, that math doesn't work for Al Capone's accountant. Nobody could do it, not even congressional Senate hearings, budget office could make that math work. So no, I do not believe it. So now we go to, well, it says in the Bible. And I want to clarify this because it's important, and my Christian friends, much as I love them, are going to take issue with this. It's not just the Bible you're reading it in, it's the English Bible. And the original sacred text would want nothing to do with English, particularly if they could look into the future and see, as I've said before, Urban Dictionary, completely destroying this language. Now, language evolves, I get that, yes, but that's not what Urban Dictionary is doing. It's language by democracy, and that does not work. The English Bible knows nothing of the Hebrew. It doesn't even know anything of the Linear Greek, but it tries. And I'm not saying the scholars and interpreters aren't trying. I mean, we have limited, first of all, there are virtually no original manuscripts. In the words of the professor of Jewish and New Testament studies at the University of Washington told me when I had a phone interview with him for 2 hours, he said, Silver, you're a bright guy. Get your facts lined up as best you can. Try and poke holes in them. Try and have others poke holes in them. Then tell your stupid story. This is the most important part. It's what every real scholar is doing. That's what history is. Voltaire says, what is fact but fiction agreed upon? So that's a premise we operate out of here. People say they have the truth. It's in the Bible, which is the irony. Pontius Pilate says, Quien veritas? What is truth? For one thing, I love the English language. I honestly do. But it is so many, it's Latin, it's Greek, it's Old French, it's Old German. And then it's sort of thrown together, just like, the melting pot of our country is a melting pot of languages. Because of what Alexander was doing, largely the same thing the British Empire was doing. So you have these countries that go out and colonize, and they adopt loosely syncretic, not as syncretic as the Romans were. You take Rome and what would become Latin, and it took everything Greek and painted it red and then swept it westward. And that's the society we live in now. So this kind of a language, English, and even Latin, and even colloquial Greek, which is Koine Greek, you can't understand the Hebrew underneath it. And at least one gospel was written in Hebrew because Eusebius, no friend of the disciples of Jesus or the Jewish people, said that Matthew wrote in the language of his people. Well, Matthew was a Jewish tax collector who spoke Hebrew. No, he spoke Aramaic, John. Oh, we're going to address that. Yes, we are. But let's just say, in the English Bible, it says there's punishment for those who, really, if it's Isaiah 66, it's talking about those who willfully rebel against God. That's a rebellion. But then it carries through, I think it's in Matthew, or no, most likely Mark. Is it in Mark? Yeah, I think it's Mark, where Jesus talks about weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then he talks about where fire will not be quenched and the worm will not be satisfied. That's rima. Rima is the worm. Or tolea, which is another. If it's talking about worms, maggots, caterpillars, that's tolea. And rima is earthworm. But they both mean the same thing in a Jewish context, which is death or purification through pain. I mean, because you've got maggots eating away at your skin, but it'll kill the infection, but maybe not so pleasant to have maggots gnawing away on your wounds. But that is the connotation. Now, in Judaism, some factions of Judaism, you have when fire, Aish, is together with Rima, or the worms, it means eternal pain. But here's the interesting thing. This is important. I think I'm jumping ahead of myself. I am actually. Okay, let me simplify this because I am starting to ramble. My Adderall's kicking in. I make no apologies. The hell of the Hebrew Bible is not the hell of the Christian Bible. And the funny thing is, actually, the hell in the Christian Bible is not the hell in the Christian Bible. It is how it's been interpreted by Christian scholars, how the Christian Bible has been interpreted by Christian scholars to mean eternal punishment in hell. There is no concept of eternal punishment in Jewish doctrine at all. There is the concept of oblivion or being unmade. Jesus says in a Hebrew context, "Depart from me, worker of lawlessness. I never knew you." If Jesus didn't know you, you weren't made. How does that happen? Well, you have the Lamb's Book of Life, your name's written in it. To be unmade is to write it in reverse. But more importantly, God doesn't destroy, he doesn't suck your spirit out and disintegrate it, because energy can't be destroyed. What he does is he folds time back on itself, and you were never made. Now, that's not going to fly for those of us with memories on Earth, but those are Earth memories, time and space. That's the worst punishment. The rest is spent in Gehinnom, which is it's where the Catholics got purgatory, but they botched it, like a lot of the things, theologically speaking. You're punished for, it's not punishment though, it's purification. You're purified for 12 months. If you're so bad you can't be purified for 12 months, let's take Jeffrey Dahmer and Himmler. They're probably going to be unmade. Someone like, I talked about Al Capone. Someone like Al Capone is probably going to spend all 12 months in Gehinnom. It's not going to be comfortable. It's purging with Aish, fire. If he doesn't get purified, he won't get unmade, but he will be kicked back to earth. And this speaks to reincarnation, which we're going to talk about too, which is a Jewish concept, by the way. So Jesus would have been aware of these things. After the disciples of Jesus were dead and couldn't defend Jesus' reference to hell in any sort of Jewish context, you have John, the disciple on Patmos, last man standing, who dies. Then Polycarp, if the church fathers are to be believed, his student, takes these writings, like Revelations, and walks off of Patmos, and he's met by Justin Martyr, Ignatius of Antioch, Clement of Rome, and they assign these Greek philosophies to it. So, yeah, I did get ahead of myself. What Isaiah 66 is talking about is that the rebellion is so bad that God leaves these bodies burning and to be consumed by worms for eternity. But there's no soul in them. The soul has gone on. And we think that means, we're going to feel fire and worms in hell. But the trouble with that is, if Christians believe the soul leaves the body upon death, that we're energy. We have no nerve endings. So nothing's going to be very painful. So from the Jewish concept again, they believe that when Messiah comes, the resurrection will happen, and those souls who are in the world to come, Olam Haba, will be joined with their bodies again, their renewed bodies. But if you were a soul who participated in the rebellion that Isaiah 66 is talking about, you have no body to return to, which means you cannot return to earth. You can wander around in the astral plane or wherever else, but that's still not being punished and burned and eaten for an eternity. So that is what Isaiah 66 is talking about. Again, you need to know Hebrew, not to be saved, which is again another word that we're going to address, but to understand what's being said. It's not talking about a soul that burns forever. It doesn't make any sense. A soul is a type of energy or an electricity. Electricity is a type of fire. How can fire burn fire? It can't. How can worms eat energy? They can't. They can eat solid energy or physical energy. But the point is, the physical body is dead. It will not be available to that soul for resurrection. That's what it means. Bottom line, no eternal punishment in fire. Let me ask the second question. Now, Ital likes to needle me because he used to be Muslim. Now he's atheist. But then he uses his Muslim credentials against me. He thinks that I'm Jewish, but I'm not. My family, my ancestry is Jewish, but I'm not Jewish. He asked, you talk about checking in with Judaism before forming your Christian beliefs, but in Judaism there is a hell. Okay, so we just covered this. But I want to say something first. Judaism doesn't form my Christian beliefs because I don't have many more Christian beliefs left. I have a lot of Jesus beliefs, plenty of God as Father and Creator beliefs left, and Judge too. And Christianity informed those. What Judaism does is it checks the source of the Christian belief, and you have to circumvent the church or the Vatican, if you want to get official. But the hell of Judaism speaks of Gehinnom, place of purification, just like fire. In essence, to wrap this up, the only religious group that believes in an eternal punishment in hell forever, or even for a very long time, is Christianity. But anyway, so that's that question. Atul, I hope that answered it.